AI agencies explode after hitting 30K a month, and I'm going to prove it to you in this video. Let's dive into my screen. So the common misconception is it's the hardest to go from 20 or 30K to 100K a month. And what I can tell you from personal experience is somebody who's kind of climbed a lot of the levels of agency ownership, the hardest jump is to go from 0 to 10K per month. Once you get to 20, 30, or 40K a month, it's a lot easier to go to 100K plus. For me personally, the hardest ceiling to break was that 10K per month mark, and that's why I call it agency hell. But once you kind of have some of your footing in place and you get to that 30K a month mark, going to 100K a month plus is much easier. Because the truth of the matter is this: 0 to 10K per month, you're doing absolutely everything. You're doing all of the appointment setting, you're taking all of the sales calls, you're likely doing all the fulfillment, and with that comes client communication. And you're really responsible for fixing everything that breaks. Thus, you have zero leverage. This is a very important concept that few agency owners truly understand. When you have no leverage, all that means is the effort you put in is exactly equal to the output you get. You put in an 8-hour day, you're going to get the results of an 8-hour day. You put in a 0-hour day where you do absolutely nothing, you get 0 hours of output. You are fully in control of everything that happens, and nothing happens with you, nothing happens without you. And what does happen needs your full input. Thus, you have zero leverage. So because of that, you can get maybe 3, 4, or even 5 clients, but you have no foundational systems and you're doing absolutely everything. So instead of continuing to build past 10K a month, you end up surviving for months. So you get maybe 3, 4, or 5 clients when you're in this position that you have no leverage, because you do the outreach, you get on the sales calls, you close the deals, you do all the fulfillment, you do all of the communication. Before those clients even come on board, you have to obviously onboard them and get them all set up. And then once you have 5 clients or so, maybe you're at a measly 10K a month. But what ends up happening is you're so wrapped up in the fulfillment of those clients, because you likely haven't outsourced it yet, that you can't actually scale any further. Even if you wanted to take on more clients, you feel like you're drowning already with the 5 clients that you do have, because you're handling everything. Because you have no foundational systems. So instead of continuing to build past 10K a month and actually scaling up, you end up just being solely in survival mode. And kind of what ends up happening is you wait for your clients to churn, and then when they do, you're back at square one hunting for deals again, which is a really unfortunate position to be in. So the thing is, getting your 50th client is dramatically easier than getting your first. And I would even argue that with every client you close, it gets easier and easier and easier. So I would even say your 5th is easier than your first, your 10th is easier than your 5th, so on and so forth. And the reason for that is trust. But here's what most people get wrong. They think they close a client or two, and then they get some case studies, and then that's what makes it easier. Case studies do help, don't get me wrong, but trust doesn't only come from case studies, because when you assume that you need case studies to close deals, you're also kind of assuming that when you have case studies, you'll close every deal in a way. So case studies don't actually guarantee that you're going to get clients, just like having no case studies doesn't guarantee that you're not going to get clients, if that makes sense. As somebody who had hundreds of case studies at my agency, I can tell you we didn't close every single deal. And that wasn't because of the case studies, because we had tons of them. It actually comes down to a few more things. Before we get into those things, we have to understand that you really feel stuck, because when you don't have case studies, what ends up happening is you don't have proof, and you feel like you can't get proof until someone buys. So you put yourself in this chicken and egg scenario where you feel like you need a case study to land a client, and you can't get a client because of that. And at the same time, you need a client to actually get a case study. So it's a chicken before the egg situation. But rest assured, you don't need a case study to get your first client. Me and dozens of my partners at agencyclients.com have been able to get tons of clients without ever having case studies, because it's not really how trust works. Again, you don't need those case studies to get clients. What you need is to pull the 5 trust levers, and you only need to pull a few of them before you can actually start closing clients. So let's talk about the first one. The first one is a hybrid offer. What a hybrid offer is going to do is give the client something that they absolutely want and take away something that they absolutely don't want. A very simple explanation of this is you have a system or a process that helps them make more money and save time in the process. My offer, as an example, was I think one of the perfect examples of a hybrid offer. We would give the real estate agent 30 plus qualified appointments in 16 weeks or their money back, using our 3-pillar, what we call the agent automation process. So the first thing we did, unique mechanism number one, was what we called the local authority campaign. That was really just a fancy way of saying a Facebook ad campaign. But that was our unique mechanism, local authority campaign. That was an addition service. So 2-point nurture is unique mechanism number two. That's the subtraction offer. That's a fancy way of saying text and emails via Go High Level. So you can even see with some of the unique mechanisms, some of the framing, it does sound like something new, exciting, and innovative, although it's just, so far, Facebook ads and Go High Level follow-ups. So we generate the lead through the local authority campaign, unique mechanism number one, the addition side of things. The subtraction side of things is 2-point nurture, unique mechanism number two, that's going to follow up via text and email all of their leads. And then the live sales assistant, unique mechanism number three, ties it all together and makes it the hybrid service. So that was us getting on the phone and calling the leads for the client. Now, this was my offer. Local authority campaign generates the leads, 2-point nurture, text and emails to follow up, and the live sales assistant gets on the phone and books the appointment. But really what this service actually did, or this hybrid offer actually did, was generate the client something that they want, booked qualified appointments, and took away something that they didn't want. Took a lot of things away they didn't want. They didn't want to run Facebook ads. They didn't want to call leads. They didn't want to text and email potential clients. So this actually took away a lot of things that they didn't want to do, which I think made the offer so much better. So really what we were delivering to the client was booked qualified appointments directly on their calendar. So all they needed to do was show up and close. And again, if we didn't deliver them that result, they got their money back. So this offer built all the trust in the world because it did all the things that they wanted to happen in their business while guaranteeing them that it was going to work. So when you have an offer that's this good, it's going to be something that builds trust automatically. This is why with clients in AC, with our partners that we work with one-on-one to help them scale their agencies, the hybrid offer is one of the first things that we work on, because when your offer is good, it makes everything easier, whether that's outbound prospecting, sales calls, even fulfillment to some degree, because when you're delivering the same thing every single time, it makes fulfillment much easier because you're just clicking the same buttons and essentially doing the same thing every time. Number one's hybrid offer. I could talk about offers all day, but let's get into number two. So after you have your hybrid offer in place, what you need to back it up with is a monster guarantee. I alluded this a little earlier. I got ahead of myself, but a monster guarantee is something that is going to remove all of the risk on the end of the client. Now, a lot of people get guarantees entirely wrong. This is something that I have to clarify and work on with clients all the time inside of AC. But the thing that I want to say here is I could do another video on this topic if you guys want it. But more importantly than that, a monster guarantee is something that is just going to remove the downside risk and really cover the worst case scenario for the client. So a lot of people are of the mindset that they need to guarantee that somebody is going to make all the money in the world. So as an example, like your high level promise is that someone's going to close 10 deals, let's say, in 90 days. And if they close 10 deals with your offer, as an example, they'll make a 10x ROI. Well, you don't have to guarantee someone a 10x ROI. That's ridiculous. That's the absolute best case scenario. But I see a lot of people do guarantees where they're guaranteeing like the best case scenario. Really what a guarantee needs to do is limit the downside so the prospect doesn't feel like they're taking a massive risk when working with you. Tony Robbins has this wonderful quote that I'm probably butchering, but he says something to the effect of people run harder and faster away from pain than they do towards pleasure. So as an example, let's say you have a 10K offer. Let's say that your offer is 10K for 16 weeks. I'm just going to use mine as an example. It's 10K for 16 weeks. When I worked with real estate agents, of course, you guys have seen sales call recordings. My offer was 10K and they paid $900 per month in ad spend. So it roughly totaled to about $14,000 that they would spend over the course of 16 weeks. Now, when we guaranteed them 30 booked appointments in 16 weeks, really all they had to do was close about 2 of those appointments and they were going to more than make their money back that they spent. They're looking at the offer and they're thinking that they're going to spend $14K. Well, we're guaranteeing them 30 appointments, which is only 7.5 appointments a month, by the way, but they only have to close 2 in order to make their money back. So what the prospect is thinking about, and I saw clients go through this mindset many, many times on calls, is they are far more nervous about losing their $14,000 than they were excited about the potential to maybe make over $100,000. Because if somebody came in and crushed it, with 30 appointments at a minimum, let's say they closed 10, they could make upwards of $150,000. But they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about the very real scenario that they could spend $14K and lose it. So that's why we guaranteed the 30 appointments, because the way we framed it was, hey, if you only close 2 deals out of 30, that's what? A 6% conversion rate? Don't you think you'll be able to convert better than 6%? You close your referrals at 50%. If you close at a measly 6%, you will at the very least make your money back, and you'll have tons of leads that you get to keep forever. Doesn't that sound awesome? Yes. So we're not guaranteeing them they're going to make $150,000. That's the best case scenario. We would be foolish to guarantee that because not everybody's going to hit the best case scenario. But we've at least covered their downside in a way where they don't feel like they're going to lose absolutely everything while still having a guarantee in place that's realistic for our team to hit. So Monster Guarantee will do absolute wonders for you. And I'm going to look at the camera when I say this because a lot of people are afraid to do guarantees. I will tell you right now, you will close more clients and make more money because of the guarantee than you could ever lose in refunds because of the guarantee. Unless you structure your guarantee like an absolute idiot, like I just kind of alluded to, you guarantee people that they're going to have the absolute best case scenario. Unless you structure your guarantee like that in a lazy, idiotic kind of way, then you're going to make far more money because of the guarantee than you would in losses. So what I mean by that is we closed so many more clients and made so much more revenue with this guarantee than we did in lost money due to refunds or chargebacks or whatever the case may have been for missing the guarantee. Okay. So what I mean by that is if the guarantee makes you an extra $100,000 in closed deals and you have to refund $10,000, let's say, just to make the guarantee attractive enough, well, you netted, in my books, $90,000. So don't be stingy with this. Don't be afraid to put a guarantee in place. You need one in place because the client is taking the majority of the risk, especially if you don't have case studies yet. This is one of those things that can kind of replace those. Number 3, getting into that, is relevant case studies if you have them. But again, in my books, if you have a hybrid offer and you have a Monster Guarantee, if you don't have case studies yet, this is actually more important. So I would rather, if I had to go sell as a commission-only sales rep for a marketing agency, I would much rather sell at an agency that had a Monster Guarantee and a very strong hybrid offer with no case studies than at an agency with a bunch of case studies, shitty offer, shitty guarantee, 9 times out of 10. So if you can put together relevant case studies, that's great. But again, there's 5 trust levers. You want to pull as many of these as you can, but you don't have to pull all 5. I would say when you pull all 5, that's when you're a functioning multi-6-figure per month agency. But that's not the point of this video. It's not to get you to 100K a month. The point of this video is to get you past 30K a month so you can bolt to 100K a month. Because as we'll talk about more, you can get there a lot quicker when you have some of these things in place. So number 3 is relevant case studies, but if you don't have them, it's not the end of the world. This is also extremely important. Pillar 4 is market understanding. So if you can put together educational content on the problem you solve and how you solve it and your mechanisms, this is really going to position you as an expert and as a market leader in your space. And also when you get on sales calls, if you can speak the lingo, this also helps tremendously. So if there's industry terms that you understand, if there's things about the business model that you work with that you understand, that by the way, you can just get on ChatGPT or YouTube and figure those things out, this will help tremendously because people want to buy from someone that understands them. So market understanding is also huge when it comes to building trust. You can do this both through marketing, like we're talking about here with some educational content around problems you solve and kind of how you solve them. You can also do this on a one-to-one basis on sales calls when a prospect can tell that you understand their business, let's say in the discovery phase. And number 5 is business branding. I have said this and I will say it again and again and again. Once you can implement strong branding from name to logo to website to color palette to trademarks eventually when you get to that point where it makes sense, this is something that can absolutely help you because perception at the end of the day is reality. So the more professional your agency is able to appear, the better you look on Google. You're going to get so much more trust and people are going to have so much more conviction in you. The crazy thing is you hear so many people talking about how there's this trust recession and talking about how the agency space might be saturated, but then very little attention is actually paid to the thing that builds trust and kind of delivers you out of the saturation, which is becoming a market leader, which is something that I preach all the time. And a part of you being a market leader agency is not about being a 7-figure a year agency. It's not about having hundreds of testimonials, although that can help. Although some of those things might contribute to market leadership, business branding is one of the biggest things. And that's why I've always taken that so seriously. So really the big idea here is the agency that understands trust and builds it systematically is the agency that scales. And it really puts you in the best position possible to sprint to 30K per month because once you do, you really get to 100K a month much faster. You know, a lot of people that I've worked with, it might take them a year to get to 30K a month or a year and a half to get to 30K a month. And once they hit that 30K per month mark, they hit 100K a month in like a third of the time. I think even for us, our big barrier was 50K a month. It took us maybe 6 months to hit 50K a month and finally crack it. And then once we hit 50K a month, we just sprinted like wildfire. Like we were at, 160K a month within 5 more months of that. So a lot of times it's getting these initial trust levers pulled and some of the other things we're going to talk about in the video. And then from there, you can sprint. So the biggest thing that happens when you're going from 30 to 100K per month is if you're at 30K per month, something is working. Now, this might seem obvious, but the way you need to think about it is you can scale what's working and fix one problem at a time. If you're at 30K a month, something is working. You might have, let's say, 4 clients on like 7.5K per month performance deals because you're very good at marketing and you're very good at fulfillment. I've worked with people in the past. I worked with one guy who had 1 person on a 70K per month performance deal. So you can absolutely be very good at fulfillment and get you there. It's going to be the slowest way to get there, which is why I say don't do fulfillment, but there are genuinely some people that are very good at fulfillment. Some people, more so like myself, very good at putting appointments on the calendar, very good at closing deals. So when I was at 30K a month, I really just needed to double down on closing deals. But really, the fact of the matter is getting to 30K per month comes from getting good at something. For every agency owner, that's different. Obviously, for most, it's going to be acquisition, but there's other cases as well. So as an example, if your problem is you're closing 20% of calls, but you're only taking 10 calls per week, meaning you're getting 2 new clients a week, you need to focus on appointment setting because you're good at closing. You're closing at a decent percentage at 20%, but you're not taking enough calls. That would put you in a position where you need to take 30 calls per week, let's say, because even if you cut your close rate in half and you went to 10%, you're still closing more calls at 30 a week, which would be 3 a week, than you would at 20% with 10 calls a week. And realistically, more than likely, your close rate would stay around this 20% mark, and that would take you to 6 new closes per week. So when you can focus fully on solving the problem of appointment setting and you're removed from the other areas of the business, it allows you to actually hunker down and solve these problems and fix them. The next problem might be you can only handle 30 calls per week yourself, or you can't necessarily handle 30 calls per week yourself. So at that point, you would need to onboard and train a closer. Let's say that closer brings in more clients than your operators can handle, then you fix fulfillment. So you have to see that every single problem in your agency needs to have your sole dedicated focus. Because all 3 of these problems, as an example, appointment setting, training a closer, fixing fulfillment, all of these problems can be fixed. If you don't believe me, there are many agency owners that have fixed these problems before, even at a much higher level and much more effectively. As an example, I have personally fixed all these problems for myself and for clients. But you have to be able to focus on solving one of these at a time. And once you hit 30K per month, you've actually created a little bit of space and a little bit of leverage. And if you're at 10K a month, as an example, when you're doing everything, you're constantly in this loop of trying to solve every single problem at once. If you're at 10K a month, you're trying to solve the appointment setting problem. You're trying to solve the closing problem. You're trying to solve the fulfillment problem. You might even be trying to do some hiring. You're focusing on too many things. And for that reason, nothing actually gets achieved. I want to give you a good example of how I learned this lesson at my agency. We had a period where our B2B ads stopped performing the way that they used to. So in 2020, when we first turned them on, we were getting absolutely ridiculous results. And the results were so crazy that I remember when I had my call with Iman, I've referenced this in another video, when Iman kind of looked at our ads, he actually didn't believe me. He thought I was wrong on our numbers because our cost to acquire a customer was so low. We were getting like $15 appointments and, getting deals for like $150. It was insane. Like, 10x cash ROAS. So I knew the ads would probably never perform that well ever again. I knew that was probably a little bit of timing and also just kind of a new offer that had kind of hit the market that nobody had really seen yet. But let's say, as an example, in the month of January, the ads were not performing as well as they had been. And we had agencies that were running the ads. I had spent tons of money on the ads themselves. I had spent money on agencies. We had a few different performance marketers that we worked with. And so what I decided to do was I was actually going to focus on solving this problem. Again, I had people working on it, but really nothing was moving. So I committed myself to solving this problem. And I wasn't going to focus on anything else until this problem was solved. But I had to have some space in the agency. I had to have some space on my calendar. I couldn't be taking calls every single day. I had to have closers in place. I couldn't be having fulfillment meetings or client meetings, although I never did that. Luckily, the point is, if I would have been doing that, I wouldn't have been able to fix our ROAS in the way that I did. I literally filmed one ad. I ran it for over a year, and it generated over $1 million in deals, 11.82x ROAS to be precise, $340 cost to acquire a customer, which is pretty darn good. The bottom line is, once you hit 30K per month, you've identified what's actually working and what you're actually good at. You create dedicated space to fix what you're not good at, and then you execute one thing at a time. So I got to this level by being good at sales and being good at appointment setting as well. By no means were our ads performing poorly, but they weren't getting a $340 cost to acquire a customer. They were probably at $500 or $600, which I wasn't happy with. And because I had space, and because I had kind of mastered other things in the business, and because I had outsourced some of the things that I wasn't so good at, or I knew it wasn't worth my time to focus on, I was able to create space to fix big problems, and I was able to execute one thing at a time. It's like, no exaggeration, this was $1 million problem that I got to solve. But I promise you right now, you will not be able to solve multiple $1 million problems at once. Even the highest level entrepreneurs in the world, they create space for themselves to focus on one problem at a time. I say to clients all the time, entrepreneurs are the absolute best problem solvers, but they can only solve one problem at a time. You cannot solve multiple problems at a time in your business. So that's why you have to create space for yourself. And that's why people stay at that 10K per month mark for so long, because they're trying to solve every single problem at once. So ultimately, the reason agencies have this crazy light speed growth past 30K a month, but really never get there, is because of this very simple concept. If all of the output in the business is directly tied to the effort of the founder, you have negative leverage. If the founder is doing absolutely every task in the business, you never are truly able to scale, because the founder doesn't master anything. When the founder is doing appointment setting, when the founder is doing sales, when the founder is doing client fulfillment and actually running the services for the client and communicating with the client, you don't actually get good at anything. So you become like a 5 out of 10 in every single area of the business, and you're just marginal and mediocre at every area of the business. And then everything in the business is tied to you being marginal. And I know that sucks, but that's really the case. But when you give yourself space and you get to focus on one thing because of systems built around you, you really get good at the things you focus on. You know, that year that I focused on my B2B ads, that actually created such an amazing skill for me because I only focused on that. And so you get good at one skill, and then you build a team or systems around that skill. For me, it was sales and appointment setting. I knew I was good at that. I learned the skills necessary to be good at that. And then I was able to separate myself and distance myself from other areas of the business so I could double down on those things, which creates positive leverage. Because now I'm in a position where my output is not directly tied to my effort. And that's really the position you want to be in, because if you have no leverage, you are the ceiling of your business. Your business will never scale past you. But what happens as you build a good hybrid offer is you put more appointments on the calendar, because again, you have a great offer. And because you have more appointments on the calendar, by default, you're going to close more deals, even if you're not that good at sales. And as you close more deals, of course, you have cash flow. You're in a position where you have positive cash coming in every single month. That cash flow is going to do something very important. It's going to fund AI tools for fulfillment. It's going to fund operators that are helping with fulfillment and doing the fulfillment. And it's going to fund systems that are going to remove you from different areas of the business. What happens then is you have better delivery. So your clients get a better result. Because of that, you have better client retention. Clients stay longer and you have less churn. And because of that, you have higher lifetime value. And what this really does is it creates this almost infinity loop where you get better results for clients, clients stay longer, you have more cash flow, you're able to reinvest more of that cash flow into the business, and this allows you to scale with basically no ceiling. And the reason you can scale with no ceiling is because it's not solely based off your inputs. You cannot scale an agency past 30K per month. It is literally impossible when all of the output is directly required on you, the agency owner. If your inputs are equal to your outputs, you have a massive problem in your agency. And the agency who actually gets to 30K per month is in rare air, to be honest. Very few actually do this. A lot of agency owners, if there's an agency graveyard, there is a lot of tombstones with 10K per month, 8K per month, 5K per month on them. Because when you get these things figured out and you get these 5 trust levers in place and you create distance for yourself to actually master the skills required, specifically client acquisition, you sprint from 30K a month to 100K a month. It's literally like a speed run in a video game. But very few people actually get there. But when you do, the same things again that get you there to 30K per month are exactly what's going to take you to 100K a month. So if you are still watching this video and you're still stuck below 30K a month, I don't care if that means you're at 29.9K per month or if you are brand new and you haven't even generated $30 yet. The move is to build the foundations correctly from day one. The way we build agencies inside of agency clients is we build them as market leaders. And when you're a market leader, it makes everything easier. It makes outbound easier. It makes sales easier. It makes fulfillment easier. It makes delivery easier. Every aspect of your business is going to be easier when you're a market leader. And that's what we focus on with our clients inside of AC. I work personally one-on-one with every single client. So when you're working with us at AC, you are working with me. You're not being outsourced to a coach or someone else. I am personally John Danes, who scaled his first agency from $0 to $2 million per year, by the way, in 10 months. I'm working personally with you. There's group calls every single day, and I'll personally help you build the offers, the scripts, the systems to create real velocity so we can sprint you to 30K per month, and then we can speed run you to 100K a month. So the link for that is in the description, agencyclients.com. I hope to see you on a call very, very soon. Hope you found this video useful. If you're stuck below 30K a month, hit the link in the description, agencyclients.com. And hey, if you're on your way to 100K a month, I can probably help too. So go to that same link. I'll see you in the next video. Do all the YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, all the goods. Love you lots. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.